Good evening, everyone. If you'd all please rise, we'll be led in prayer by Alderwoman Tracy Burdo.
Almighty God, we ask for your blessing upon the members of this council as we assemble here in this chamber to conduct the ongoing business of our city. With your guidance, we will strive to ensure that all of our decisions are for the common good, and your inspiration will instill respect, compassion, and thoughtfulness in all of our deliberations. Give us the strength and the wisdom to lead by example as the people's representatives. And the peace and harmony will mark all of our proceedings and keep us faithful to the trust placed by us and by the citizens of your community. Amen.
Amen. Alderman Swansea, sing, please, the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. As we begin this evening's final budget deliberation, at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to suspend our rules. We have 3 new business resolutions that are on the councilman's desk. In order to consider them tonight, we really should do some housekeeping right now. So may I have a motion to suspend our rules?
So moved.
Thank you. President Pro Tem, second by Alderwoman Burdo. Is there discussion on the motion to suspend? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. The motion to suspend our rules passes 7-0. May I at this time entertain a motion to add to the agenda new business resolutions 1, 2, and 3. Is there such a motion? Alderwoman Gould, second. Alderwoman Berto. Is there discussion? Yes, President Pro Tem.
We'll be adding these between citizen comment and old business?
We should be ahead of all business.
Ahead of old business, actually.
between the
Yes.
two, right?
Yeah.
Got it? So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there further discussion? If not, roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. Motion is adopted 7-0. Motion. Okay. All right. Thank you both for that. Okay, at this time, we do have a list of people who signed up ahead of time. Again, tonight is the last night the council may act on this year's proposed budget. I don't think this will happen, but if we are still in session up until midnight, then all activity and anything on this agenda is lost, and what is adopted is the city manager's budget. That's per chart. So that is the time frame we're working under tonight. Again, people signed up ahead of time. Please use the microphone. Please state your name and address for the public record. Each person will have 3 minutes, and the 3 minutes will be strictly enforced. Thank you. First person to sign up is Mr. Aaron Daniels.
Thank you. We often use the analogy that we should treat our municipal and governmental budgets much like we treat our own budgets at home. And I would ask that as you take a final look at the budget, that you do just that. Thinking of if after years of work, you finally got your own child academically heading in the direction you want them to go in. What changes would you make to your at-home budget to make sure that that did not go backwards? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Robert Aldi, please.
Good evening. My name is Bob Alday. I'm a resident of 231 Scotland Road here in Norwich. Father of four, and I'm also the chairman of the Board of Education. However, before I proceed with my little speech, I want to publicly apologize for my outburst to you, Mayor Nystrom, and to every one of the council persons sitting up here, including the treasurer and the Mrs. Driscoll, and to Mrs. Philbrook for my outburst. It was not called for. I don't allow it in my meetings, and I should have had a better sense of responsibility. I'm going to say it really quickly because I only have a couple of minutes, but education has changed since I was in school. I graduated in 1974 from the Norwich Free Academy. Education in 2023 has evolved multitude of times, and so has in the costs. And those costs are borne by all of our taxpayers. Tonight, you have a vote to make on a budget. The money that you have cut, we will not be able to fiscally, I repeat, conform to the budget that you are going to give us. I ask that you take that into consideration. My colleague, he's already left, Mr. Daniels, said a budget is meant to, and just to run a household, well, a budget is also meant to run a educational department with the rising costs on a very sliding scale. And it's always going up. It's never going down. So please take that into consideration as you deliberate on our budget. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Superintendent, there she is. Superintendent of Schools, Kristen Stringfellow, please.
Good evening. I'm here this evening to advocate for a 5.68% increase to our budget, to inform you of three options that will need to be considered if we remain funded at the manager's recommended budget of 2.5%. And I also want you to know the impact that it will have on student programs. As you know, last year, we reduced our budget by 1.5 million so that the city could have a zero mill rate. And this year, we started at 6.98 and the manager at 2.5. After several meetings, we cut an additional 1.2 million and the manager is still at 2.5, which is a difference of 2.7 million. There are many driving forces affecting the need for this increase. High school and special ed tuitions being the top at an increase of 7.25%. 49.1% of our budget is tuition, utilities, and transportation, fixed costs outside of our control. And educating a child is very different in 2023 than it was in the past. The world has changed and our children's needs have changed. The issue is not unique to Norwich. Students require education on how to behave appropriately for learning, to not bully other students on the internet or in person, and to self-regulate. We're seeing more students than ever before who struggle with toileting, hygiene, and basic self-care. We've seen a drastic increase in students who are medically fragile, who struggle with mental illness, trauma, domestic violence, homelessness, anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideations. To support post-pandemic students, we increased behavioral, mental health staff, teacher deans, special education and ESL teachers, assistant principals, and special education supervisors to conduct bullying and Title IX reports, nurses, SROs, academic teachers, and subs. Any efforts to decrease mental health, academic, or safety supports would cause a major cost increase in out-of-district special education placements and legal fees, and it would also increase teacher and staff turnover. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bob Sapensky, please.
Good evening. I'm going to give you a quick update to some changes to our budget and how the recently concluded legislative session might impact our budget. We fully anticipate a decrease in tuitions of $120,900, but we won't know for certain until tomorrow night. But I think that'll happen. On the legislative side, the menstrual product bill was successfully delayed by 1 year. And that's a good thing because we had nothing in our budget to cover those expenses. So that's been delayed until September 1 of 2024. The state did increase the excess cost reimbursement fund by 25 million. So now there is a realistic chance that the district might receive our full 91%, but that's already built into the budget. I have a revenue item in the budget of $2,460,000. If you recall, we're shortchanged this year by $550,000 because the state couldn't fully fund it. We also found out today that the district will be responsible for educating 22-year-olds until the end of the school year. Currently, it's only till their birth date, so we anticipate an unexpected increase in sped expenses, but since we just found that out today, we're not able to calculate that potential cost. On the good news, the Alliance District funding is going up by $1.4 million, but we all know that, according to statute, that cannot be used to supplant existing expenses, only for new programs. Then I did give you a handout tonight just to show you an example of what's in our school budgets. I gave you the certified staff budget for our largest elementary school and a small elementary school. And if you look at that, you'll see it doesn't even cover what I consider core educational expenses on the certified staff. It's basically, if you're looking at Moriarty, 3 teachers per grade, a couple sped teachers, a principal, a social worker, and that's how every one of our schools are. Things like art and PE are all funded, and music are funded through grant funding. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Greg Perry, please.
Hello, Greg Perry, 33 Mulberry Street. I am here to encourage you to adopt a budget that adequately funds our schools, and I warn of the possible consequences if we don't do so. Despite what some people may say and believe, education is very expensive, and for some reasons it should be. It's one of the most important services that we provide as a society. I don't think I need to remind you of what it was like not too long ago when school buildings were closed, all our kids were at home, and our teachers were our heroes. I encourage us to remember that and to treat them in such a way. I'm going to skip past parts about the numbers. I feel like some folks have already covered those things, but do want to mention that inflation is real and education is expensive. When you compare this budget to the way that all costs have become inflated, it becomes clear that this is a responsible Board of Education budget. To fund education requires smart investment in people, teachers, paras, support staff, substitutes, administrators, custodial staff, coaches, bus drivers, food service workers, maintenance staff, school resource officers. All of these everyday heroes are often underfunded and often underpaid. And to claim that properly staffing and paying, those two are related, you can't find staff if you're not willing to pay them. All of these amazing human beings that are supporting our kids and supporting our society is in any way wasteful or excessive bothers me. The additional inflated costs of tuition, NFA raises tuition by 7.25%, utilities, fuel, insurance, which goes up way more than 6% per year, and dealing with new mandates, some of which have been spoken about a little bit, transportation contracts, keeping our sports, clubs, arts, and music programs, all need to be considered. I don't want to lose any of these things. The consequences of not funding our schools are many. Teacher and staff shortages are leading to overworked staff, which large class sizes all over the place. And these things can lead to greater long-term costs if we don't address them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mark Kulos, please.
Good evening. My name is Mark Kulis. I live at 327 Broadway. I'm the Vice Chair of the Norwich Board of Education. The BOE needs meatloaf money. We have given you our list. To make a meatloaf, you need milk, bread, eggs, hamburger, onion, and some spices. You also need an oven and someone to prepare, cook, and serve the meal. The general fund pays for our meatloaf ingredients of tuitions, salaries, transportation, utilities, insurance, and supplies. Grant money gives us the side dishes and condiments, additional services above and beyond the basic components to run our schools. We need to make our meatloaf every day to run our schools. Also, many of our special ed students can't eat meatloaf. They need special services, gluten-free, vegetarian, seafood only, all highly tailored to their needs. Some even need lobster Newburg with gold flake sprinkles. Some of those services can only be provided outside our district and are very expensive. It looks like the state has given us more than $1.4 million to close our budget gap, but those funds are highly restricted and can't be used for the basic meatloaf. They're not for unrestricted general uses. It can only be used to buy selected condiments, say capers, anchovies, horseradish, and mustard. You can't make meatloaf, as hard as you might try, out of those ingredients. Any home cook or restaurant knows that inflation has hit the cost of ingredients very hard over the past year. A 2.5% budget increase will not cover the rate of inflation or increased tuition costs. We're going to have to make some very drastic changes in the way we deliver education, because there's no way we can serve the meatloaf that everyone expects. We would probably still run a deficit even with drastic changes and have to request additional funds to cover the shortfall at the end of the year, wiping out both the emergency school capital account and tapping into emergency city funds. I know that the city needs to make its own tuna salad plate for the non-education budget, and funds are tight this year. But please consider making a larger contribution to the BOE budget to reduce larger problems at the end of the fiscal year. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Greg Balassi.
Hello, my name is Greg Balassi of 2 DuPont Lane. I'm an educator here in Norwich for over 10 years and a resident for 6. And on behalf of my fellow residents and educators, I'd like to start by thanking the council for their tireless and sometimes thankless work in managing the needs of the city. While I have not personally attended many meetings, the recordings and steadfast write-ups in the papers, as well as my own one-on-one talks with members of the council, truly illustrate the difficult but necessary task of seeing to the diverse needs of our community. Once again, I thank you. As we denoted last week, costs are up: food, utilities, and infrastructure. Specific to infrastructure, I was appreciative of the information and to learn that our roads cost approximately 20% more today than they did in 2019. I was pleased to hear that the council unanimously supported the increase because the citizens deserve good roads, and you can't get what you need today for what you spent in 2019. As presented and in full knowledge of the economic situation we each face, the argument presented in favor of increasing the funds for the roads seemed logical, fair, and sound. Following the same spirit, the need to increase the school budget for the coming year is equally logically fair and sound. With respect, I concede school budgets are different from roads, but unlike roads, our schools, our educators, and programs need to do far more today than they did in 2019, 2009, 1979. So much is the case, we are in the process of building new schools to meet the needs of both our current and future students and provide the learning and programs they so rightly deserve. And in our here and now, 2023, these programs and the staff that make them happen, once again, come to you for the support needed to provide the learning our children need to be lifelong learners and responsible citizens. Now, many aspects that make up the budget request, such as high school tuition and unfunded mandates, are in fact out of our hands, the Board of Education's and the City Council's. Regardless of the outcome here tonight, those numbers will not change. The only thing that is being considered and voted on tonight, the only thing that you can affect change on is, will we fully fund our schools, namely our pre-K through 8 programs, or will we once again drastically cut? Please support the Board of Education budget. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mark Cook?
Mark Cook, 62 Gulliver Circle, Norwich. It's no secret that General Dynamics Electric Boat is hiring thousands of engineers and other skilled tradesmen. Pfizer, too, continues to provide well-paying careers. Similarly, in Norwich, Navarro Glass has and promises to add hundreds of new well-paying positions. If we ask these new entrants into the Eastern Connecticut workforce, they might say that the mill rate is a factor to consider in their decisions of where to live and invest. But they probably would say their higher overall concern is what is the quality of life in the town or the city that I want to live, invest, and raise a family in. A substantial part of that quality of life is the quality of the public education in that municipality. We as a city need to prove to those high-income new workers that we are committed to the highest quality of life. When they witness the city's commitment, they will make the decision to live, invest, do business, and raise a family in Norwich. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Beth Hanlon?
Good evening. My name is Beth Hanlon. I reside at 9 Calkins Road. I've been coming to this podium for the past 3 decades during my tenure in Norwich Public Schools. As I gathered my thoughts in preparation, I realized we're discussing the same items that we have discussed every time there's a budget crisis. We, as a school department, continue to incur increased costs that we have no control over. Unfunded mandates by the state, various vendor increases, and rising tuition costs, which we cannot control. The thing that is different now, the thing that is different now that has not always been a factor is post-pandemic education. The students, unlike probably most of the other departments in the city, things have not returned to normal in our school system since the pandemic. The needs of our students and families have always been high in Norwich. That's just who we are. Many of our students experience various forms of trauma, and we know that. But the pandemic took an already fragile population and changed them even more. In fact, I would argue the needs of our students and families, it increased the needs of our students and families more than we could have anticipated. And trust me, we tried to anticipate them. And it hasn't subsided because these issues do not subside. The social and emotional needs of our students must be addressed for students to be available to learn. In order to meet the social and emotional needs of our students, it requires trained staff, such as registered behavior technicians, board-certified behavior analysts, and social workers. Hand in hand with these trained experts, our students can access their education. In order to continue our steady academic gains, we must keep our current staffing of reading and math specialists and reading and math coaches. Their support of our students and staff is showing a direct impact on our present diagnostic scores. This crucial trend will not be obtained if our budget is cut by millions of dollars. I implore you to fund the budget for the betterment of our students. Our city grows when our schools grow. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the last person who signed up on the list. Right? Someone else who'd like to speak, I'll go left and right sides. Please. Yep.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janice Sawicki, and I live on 39 Andrea Lane here in Norwich. I didn't think this would come up so quickly, so I just want to get myself together. When I look and I think about what's going on in Norwich, it just kind of blows my mind. And who really wants to pay more money for anything? much less taxes. Not me, certainly, and I bet every other single person in this room and probably in the city. But, and that's a big but with capital letters. Death and taxes, there's no escape. And there are things that we need to pay attention to. And the attention that needs it most at this point in time, and I would say probably forevermore, are our children. They are growing up in a different world, a crazy world, and that's my opinion. But all you have to do is listen to the news and read the paper. It's disheartening. You know, it's a simple premise. You pay now or pay later. I would rather have my money, my taxes, my hard-earned money go to education rather than incarceration. Think about it. It is so expensive for one person to be put in jail. Mr. Nash can tell us more about that. He knows, he's a pro when it comes to that. And again, let me repeat that. Education versus incarceration. So many of our kids, school is the place where they flourish. I was the principal in 2 different schools. I used to have kids, and it would break my heart. Kids that would be going home on vacation, summer vacation, that had nothing to look forward to. They would be on the bus, and I am not lying. They would cry because they were going home on vacation. Do any of you cry when you're going on vacation? Cry with joy, but not tears of sorrow. They're not going to have a warm, safe, cool, whatever, comfortable place where they are cherished, where they are learning, when they are preparing for their future, even for the toughest kids. And you know, those are the kids as adults that have come back to see me and say, thank you. I really didn't know how valuable my time in school was until now. And I've had my share of kids that have grown into adults that have been incarcerated. Oh, shucks. Anyway, I've got to go quick. Let's see. You're lucky I'm here. I'll say something else. What can we do as a group to unify ourselves for these kids? Never mind Democrats, never mind Republicans. What can we do as a group to improve things for our kids? We have great examples of teachers right in this room, these people that have
Excuse
the
me.
degrees. I know.
Please.
I'm sorry. Bill Nash, super teacher of the DARE program, taught kids great things. We've got Mr. DeLucia, who's like an architect. He's teaching all kinds of formal things to kids on a higher level. Who else? Mr. Mayor, you were in education. I know you were, and I know you're very proud of that time, that what you did for kids everywhere. And it's not just in Norwich, but those are the ones we are focusing on today. So besides all of this, we just have to keep these things in mind. Incarceration versus education. I don't want to visit my grown-up kids in prison. I want them to knock on my door. I want them to call me on the phone. I want them to see me and Stop and Shop and say, thank you. You put my nose to the grindstone and I flourished. Mark Cook, neither one of them mentioned that we are part of the Ed Foundation. We have raised over $100,000. Does anybody realize that? Over $100,000 to supplement programs in schools. And I don't want applause. I know they don't want applause. We do it because we have big hearts and we know what kids need to succeed. And I guess that's it. I could go on, but I know you've had enough of me. So just remember, please, vote yes for the school budget, please. Yes, we need that money. Nobody wants to pay it, but we need to, we have to. Kids are our future. You'll be in the nursing home someday. And I want somebody that knows what the hell they're doing.
Thank you. If someone else like to speak, please.
Roseanne, we don't have the 30-second warning.
Not working?
Well, I don't know. It's turning yellow over here.
But it's
It
not
didn't up
there.
there. It would help if we could get that.
Please, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Ashari Sampson, and I live at 69 12th Street, Apartment 2. I came here on behalf of Blooming into Greatness, and I'm asking you to not lower the budget for our schooling. I'm a student in Norwich Public Schools, and I attend Kelly C. Magna Middle School. I first want to say there has already been lack of school supplies in our school. We have a shortage on pencil, paper, scissors, and computer lack of funds due to buying more school supplies. So the proposal for a decrease in our budget won't do us any justice in helping us get our schoolwork done. In Norwich schools, many teachers leave due to lack of pay. They feel that they should be paid more, and I agree. Many students look forward to after-school activities such as sports, dance, and after-school clubs. Students use these programs as a way to have fun and to get out the house, but that can't happen if the budget is decreased. Next year, one ELA teacher from every team in schools will be removed because the city can't afford to pay all the teachers. So the decrease in education system's budget is not beneficial for any of the students nor behalf of the members of staff in the school. I'm asking for the budget for the Norwich Public Schools not to be lowered because we have developed a good relationship with these teachers. We are not comfortable with these Norwich Public School teachers and trust in them, and unfortunate to watch them leave because they're either not getting paid enough or there's not enough funding to keep them as employees. As a result of the funding being decreased, our education would be affected in a negative way. We want to have after-school programs and activities which every kid looks forward to each year. And so I'm asking you, City Council, if you would please reconsider making a decrease in the budget due to the reason I mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council at this time? Mr. Bowie?
Good evening, Rodney Boy, 62 Roosevelt Avenue. I've been in this town for 60 years, and I'd like to see this budget put down. These kids don't seem to realize that if they get all the money in the world, they will not have a place to live in. They can't pay all the expenses that we have. Now, I spoke here for several years about the taxes. My senior class in high school all left town because they couldn't find a job. All of them, every damn one of them left town because they couldn't find a job. At my 25th anniversary, several of the children, several of them came back and we had a get-together. Not many of them had anything good to say about the school they were in. But I didn't get the education that many of them did. The value of education is something that I talk about all the time. I never did get a college education. When I was working as an electrician, I made around $46,000 a year. My same brother was a civil engineer, and he made $200,000 a year. The difference is he had a higher level of education. Now, if you tax the citizens of this town out of the city, these kids won't have a place to live in. They won't have a place to work because the taxes in this town are too damn high. Now, I can afford the taxes because I'm an old man and I don't have too many expenses. But these kids are going to be raising children themselves. And they need a place that they can live in. They get a good education right here, right now, in this town. But if you keep on taxing more and more every single year, you're going to tax everybody here out of town. The people that live here now won't be able to afford to live here. No. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd also like to address the council at this time. Please, Ms. Filbert.
Joanne Philbrick, Norwich Town. I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't speak tonight, but I've been inspired and actually slightly enraged. So I'm going to take a few key words that I heard. Inflation is real, and I'm going to get emotional. Inflation is real. Fragile population, trauma, anxiety, stress, taxes, utilities, insurance, food. You want to talk about trauma and stress? I'll be happy to sit down with any of you and tell you my life story. But because I am strong and determined, I have been able to overcome most of those. You just had a group of kids walk out of this room. Every single one of them had a goddamn cell phone in their hand. Take away their cell phones. Don't allow them in school. They don't belong in school. How would you like to be a senior citizen living on a fixed income? How would you like to have worked all your life so that you, in your last 5, 10 years, could have some quality of life? I can't go to the, I know I can't swear. But you know what? Police officers swear on the job all the time. I won't use the word I want to use. This is all about shared sacrifices and triage. I assume that you all know what the word triage means. You can't have everything you want. You have to prioritize. And I am so sick of beating this education horse to death. They've all got cell phones, but they don't know how to make change. They don't know how to look you in the eye and have a conversation. They don't know how to spell. They've all got some sad story. It's not, I said this, it is not the taxpayer's responsibility to raise the children. If you can't afford them, if you don't know how to take care of them, stop having them. There are excellent teachers in this city, and they don't get the credit that they deserve. Somebody made the comment at the, and I'm going to go over my time, Peter, because you already opened that door. You want to start making cuts? Start at the top. For somebody that's making $200,000 a year, as opposed to somebody who's making $50,000 a year or $60,000, it's not that big an adjustment. You have a every year we come back here, every single year, and it's about the children, the children. What about the old people? You want us all to die? You want me to just go out and shoot myself? Put us all out of our misery? Because I don't see a future for me. Not here. I can't afford anything. I went to the library the other day for the first time because we're talking about the budget, so let's just talk about everything. Not just, the education is not the only component of the budget. It's not the only component of the budget. I went to the library. Half of it was dirty. Half of the things there didn't work. The computer, the microfiche, nothing worked. And I let people smoking literally crap in the entrance to the library. It's dirty, it's disgusting. You never see a police officer downtown. So as I was leaving, I saw this gentleman walking up the street, and he had on a nice navy blue blazer, nice pants, and he's carrying an attaché case, or a briefcase, however you want. And I said to him, "Excuse me," because I like to engage people in conversation. I said, "May I ask you a question?" He was like, "Yes." I said, "Are you an attorney?" And he said, "How did you guess?" And I said, "Because you're the only person in this entire downtown area that isn't lying in the street, drinking, smoking, cursing, have their pants down around their knees." And he said, "You know, I used to live in Norwich. My biggest client base is here." He says, "But there isn't enough money in the world to make me live here." And he actually grew up on Gulliver Circle. So I have no idea what his name was, but I want you to understand. I want you to look at me. I want you to look at me. And I want you to see me. Because there are a lot of people that have invested in this city over the years, and we are just as deserving as other elements of society. You have got to find a way to compromise. We cannot sustain an increase of this magnitude. So please, find a way, because election time is coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone like to address the council? Yes, sir.
My name is Pietro Rocchi Camardella, 79 Lambert Drive. I was born and raised in Italy, but some people know the story. Served in the Italian Navy. I was a merchant marine officer. Then, by the grace of God, I got married to a nice, lovely young lady. Landed in Norwich, Connecticut, and never left. 4 kids later, 7 grandkids later, I'm still here. I love it. Many of you know that I'm a photographer, and I worked hard all these years. I wasn't even going to speak. I'm just starting to get more involved. The truth of the matter is, Joanne Philbrook was saying is, we have 4 children, all grown, all college educated, all summa cum laude, all working. Nobody lives in Norwich. You know why? Because I told them not to. Your responsibility is for the well-being of the family, of the taxpayer. Of course, the children are important. I got 4 kids, 7 grandkids. You don't think they're important to me? But what, like the gentleman over here said, what's the point? Increase taxes, increase. Listen, if I can make a deal and sell my house, I'm out of here. And I really don't want to. It's important. Your only responsibility is to the taxpayer and the citizens of Norwich. Then the kids, of course, the services, of course, the police department, of course, the fire department. That's all good and dandy. Reduce the taxation on the citizens of the city, or else, like Joanne Philbrook, elections are coming. I ran for a state senate. I'm going to run for anything else, because enough is enough. We, the citizens, had enough. Thank you.
Thank you. And anyone else like to speak to the council at this time? Anyone else like to speak to the council at this time? Third call. Anyone else? Please, Mr. Blackburn.
John Blackburn, 15 Alice Street. I'm not going to go into what they have said, but I agree with it. Enough is enough. We need our taxes lowered, and the Board of Education is always asking for more, and more. If you gave them $100 million, it wouldn't be enough. They want more. So, you need to draw the line somewhere. And you have a lot of elderly people in this town that are having rough times. And we were told years back, when times were tough, do more with less. We've been doing more with less as taxpayers, property owners. Go to the store. See how much more we pay. Gasoline, oil, utilities, everything is up. But you know what? Do more with less, that's what we're told. And you know what? It's time something has to give. You can't afford to give them exactly what they want. But we all have to live within our means. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, I'd like to speak to the council at this time. Anyone like to join the other speakers at this time? Again, anyone like to speak to the council at this time? Please, sir. Yeah.
Peter Camp, 15 Stewart. I just wanted to say how proud I am of Shari for coming up here and speaking. She's a graduate of Uncas Elementary School, school that I'm a principal at. And just, I know you have, a difficult decision in terms of considering the taxpayers, but also the students are citizens of Norwich too. And my two kids also go to Norwich Public Schools. So, your decision will directly impact them as well. So I appreciate your time and your deliberation in making this decision, and I ask that you fully fund the education budget.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to address the council at this time? Anyone like to address the council at this time? Again, anyone like to address the council at this time? Seeing no one else, thank you all for sharing your concerns and joining us this evening.
So I'm going to read each one of these.
Pardon me?
I'm going to read each one of these. New business?
Were they posted outside? Not before. Okay. Yes, I think it would be appropriate, as each of these resolutions are called, that they be read into the public record. They're not long.
Right. Do you want me to do all three in a row, or are you going to do one at a time?
I do one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the members, yeah, please.
New business resolution 1, relative to amendment of the 23-24 budget to adjust revenue estimate for pilot. Resolved that the budget for fiscal year 23-24, as tentatively adopted by the Council of the City of Norwich on May 1st, 2023, as further amended by the Council of the City of Norwich on May 15th, 2023, be amended by the adjusted listed herein. General fund, I'm assuming this is money, 43,600?
No, that's the line item.
No, it's the line item. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Payments in lieu of taxes tentatively adopted, 2,982,351. 2023-24 revised, 3,154,055, sorry. And revenue adjustment, 171,704. Change in the general mill fund rate of .09, negative .09, or is it just 09? Negative 09.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to bring this resolution to the floor. Alderwoman Gould, the second, please. Alderwoman Berto. And just for members of the audience, this is a change in the revenue estimates determined by the city manager by law. That's solely his call to make. This is based on the recently completed state budget. And the pilot payments that are paid to the city of Norwich were increased by that value of $171,704. So that's what we're doing, adjusting the revenue anticipated before we act on the budget. Is there further discussion? Anyone? Seeing none, roll call on Resolution 1, new business.
Okay, Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. New business Resolution 1 is adopted 7-0. Thank you.
Okay, new business resolution 2, relative to an amendment of the 23-24 budget to increase funding for Norwich Public Schools. Resolved that the budget for fiscal year 23-24 as tentatively adopted by the Council of the City of Norwich on May 1st, 2023, as further amended by the Council to the City of Norwich on May 15th, 2023, be amended by the adjustment listed herein. General Fund Norwich Public Schools, 2023 tentatively adopted, $88,973,852. 2023-24 revised, $89,445,556. Expenditure adjustment, $471,704. Change in general mill rate, 0.26.
Thank you. Motion at this time to bring this to a vote on the floor, please. Alderwoman Gould, is there a second? Alderman Grant Neuendorf. Is there discussion on Resolution 2 at this time? Alderman Nash.
I would like to offer a amendment to that. It's not much, and I know we're trying to get a gap closed and to help the schools, and this may not be earth-shattering addition, but I'd like to raise that $471,704 to an even $500,000, which is an increase of $28,296 to help a little bit.
Thank you. Is there a second? Alderwoman Gould, second. Is there discussion? See none, a roll call on the amendment, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto?
No.
Alderman Singh?
No.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
No.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. New business Resolution 2 amendment is adopted 4-3. Is there further discussion on this new business resolution as amended? Alderman Singh.
So it's a very tough decision today, especially for me. And I just want to share all my feelings with you. And I hope we can come to some conclusion here. I served 2 years in Board of Ed. I know their budget. They're in a very tough spot. Even after you increasing that to 500,000 total, we're still leaving them in the hole of more than $2.2 million. Somebody said from the public, compromise. I don't see any compromise in Resolution 2 or Resolution 3. We all know what's going to happen here. And that's very troubling to me that nobody is working with each other. When we do have people recently voted yes on $385 million to put toward the school infrastructure, and yet we are not funding the schools to the level we can. And we have those resources that we can fund the schools a little better without increasing taxes. But we are not doing that. So I'm just talking in the hope that, because I know how things gonna go here, on one side we call education part of economic development, and on the other side we shy away using ARPA money towards the education. I understand there are a lot of projects in the city that needs ARPA money. I am getting more understanding. This is my first term. how city works and various aspects of the city. But I think we can still do a little better on this resolution number 2. And what I want to propose is $500,000 of ARPA money going towards this, which will increase expenditure adjustment to $1 million. In the hope that, we can do a little more, take a little extra, I won't even say sensible approach. It's not going to solve the issues of Board of Ed. This is not what they want. This is not I want for them either. But I think we do have opportunity to at least try and show them our willingness. We spent 2 years now with ad hoc committee in play. There has been a lot of trust building already been done between City Council and Board of Education. I feel it will not be right if we don't even try to do better. And by using 500,000 of ARPA money, we still have over $250,000 that we can use for those economic development projects that we want. And we still have 0 mill rate increase. And it will reduce that gap that we have right now between Board of Ed and the City Council budget on resolution number 2. I really want all of you to think a little bit about it before you all vote. I'm just trying to do damage control. I'm not trying to, try to convey one side or the other side. So please consider that. My daughter also goes in Norwich Public School. I care for schools as well. But I'm trying to be a little more realistic because I know how things gonna go. So I will put amendment forward to add $500,000 of ARPA money towards resolution number 2, which will increase expenditure adjustment to 1 million in total. That's my motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Alderman Nash? Is there further discussion? President Pro Tem.
No, I'm sorry, I'll hold my comment until we actually vote on the final.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you. Is there further discussion? Alderwoman Gould?
Every year, we struggle with our budget. And I'm going to use, like Mrs. Philbrick did, some of the phrases that people spoke about. Our teachers are probably undervalued. They're expected to do more and more than just teach. We're in the post-pandemic phase, I guess, of life. And we're responsible for the social and emotional needs of all of our residents here in the city of Norwich. For those single people who live here, for families that live here, for retirees that live here, for our elderly population, who all need social and emotional support. And we want safe streets, nice neighborhoods. We want streetlights. We want businesses to shop at. We want well-paying jobs. When my daughter was young and she'd say to me, "Mom, I want," and my response to her was, "It's nice to want, but these are the things we need, and the wants have to come after we get the things that we need." And Dr. Stringfellow, Mr. Pensky all spoke about the cost of everything going up. Because your utilities went up, so did mine. So did his, Mrs. Sawicki's. And their fuel costs, they went up too, for anybody who drives a car. Cost of food is up. Cost of living is up. Yet we want people to move here. We want those well-paying jobs. We want those people who are going to have well-paying jobs to move here. And we want businesses to come here. And then they say, well, I'm a young single person. I don't have any kids in the school, so they're not thinking about necessarily what the school system's like. They're looking at the bottom line. Where are the taxes in this city going? They're going up, they're going down, are they stable? Because I can move to Basra and get a bigger piece of land and a bigger house for less, or I can go to Lisbon, go to Montville for all that, but I'd stay out of there because the utilities are god-awful. So we have to find this balance. And I understand why the teachers are here, and I understand why we got the emails from a group of teachers sent us these emails. Please, don't cut the budget. But what do I tell my 75-year-old neighbor who said, Stacy, please, I love living in my neighborhood, but I can't keep affording it. If you raise the taxes, I'll move back to Long Island. It's expensive out there, it's expensive here. And I appreciate all the teachers being here and your hard work. And that you sometimes don't get respect from the children you teach or the parents that these children go home to. And it's sad that children go home on the school bus at the end of the day or the end of the school year crying because they don't have something to do after school, the school year ends. But don't the parents have a responsibility? And if their house isn't safe to go home to, or isn't warm, it isn't dry, then why is that child being allowed to go home there? I've lived in the city of Norwich all of my life. Went to school here. My daughter went to school here. I was telling Singh that Thursday nights, when I was in high school, you weren't downtown, you must be dead. Because Thursday nights was the night to be downtown, to be shopping, to be eating, to be meeting your friends. I want that back for downtown. And I appreciate the thought of moving the ARPA money, but it's still not, it doesn't close the gap. And that ARPA money could help close the gap for economic development that increases revenue to the city of Norwich. And it's not that the school isn't important, but if you're $2 million short, or $2.5 million short, and you're coming back to us, I don't know what to say. You know, and everybody, oh, you cut our budget. We didn't cut your budget. We reduced what you asked for. And this is one of the hardest things I ever have to do up here. But you have to remember, because you're all saying, oh, well, next election, I'm not voting for her because she doesn't like kids or she doesn't like education and value education. That's not true at all. But I have to find the balance. Because I have 30,000 people to answer to, not just the 40 people that are in this room. Every phone call that I got, except for the 10 emails that I got from the teachers, every phone call or other email I got was, do not raise our taxes. We can't afford it. Do you know how much eggs cost? Do you know how much milk costs? Never mind lobster Newburgh for our students, because we're only eating hamburger. So please don't be mad. Maybe you can be disappointed, okay, but don't be mad about this. Because we have to think of everybody that's here, not just the children that live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further comment? Yes, Alderwoman Tracy Berto, I saw your hand.
Alderwoman Gould, she is correct. This is a very hard decision that we all have to sit up here and make. And it's one of the hardest decisions I think I've had to make being on council. And a lot of you know, I don't have children, but it still does affect me. Education affects me. And she's right, the cost of things are going up. Cost of fuel, cost of gas, cost of rent. I've experienced it in the supermarkets, and so have you guys. And I have to eat gluten-free because I have celiac. So trust me, I understand the prices are going up. But, you know, I come from a family of educators. My aunt is a retired educator after 35 years. I still have 2 cousins that are educators in the school system. And, you know, they talk about the shortage of teachers, the shortage of staff, the shortage of transportation for the kids to get to school. And, you know, and people, you know, they complain about businesses not wanting to come here. Well, I can tell you I work with a young woman in my office at my job. And the first thing she looks at when she wants to move is the education in the town she wants to move to. And education is very, very important to young families. And if we don't have a good education system, businesses aren't going to come here. You're talking about the future leaders, the future presidents, the future vice presidents, the future tech CEOs, the future educators. You can't provide that if you keep cutting, and cutting. So, like Alderwoman Gould said, this is a very tough decision. So, that's all I have to say.
But thank you. Alderman Nash.
I've sat here for a while and gone through several of these budgets. And every year that people come up and say, stop cutting our budget, stop cutting our budget. But we're not cutting the budget. We're giving you what we can afford. And I just ran an election and I probably hit about, I'm not going to brag about it because I didn't hit as many as some other people, but I hit about 700 to 1,000 doors during this last election. Not a single one asked me to fully fund the school budget. All they said was, don't raise taxes. Please don't raise taxes. Keep the taxes down. And I told them that we have to pay for some things. There's things you have to pay for, even in a home. You know, listen, I was a policeman. It was the greatest job I ever had. To this day, I was a dare officer, so every day I went to work, people were happy to see me. It wasn't like some of my colleagues that had to go to the work and wrestle the drunk to the ground or chase the bad guy. Or I got to school and it was a joy to go to work each and every day. And I also was a security officer for the Hartford Public Schools. And if you want to talk about a messed up school system, all right, those kids were all broken. Every single one. I used to call the school I worked at the land of misfit toys because it seemed like they were thrown away. And I know what Janice was talking about the kids crying. I remember watching them cry on a 3-day school break because they didn't want to go home, because they didn't get dinner or they didn't get lunch. So I understand what it's like. But like everyone else has said up here, this is the hardest decision we as a council has to make. And I struggle internally with it. But I also understand that we have to get a grip on some of the things that we need to take. We talked about businesses coming here. schools are important, don't get me wrong. I know families look at schools. I did not when I moved to Norwich because I didn't have children at the time, but I raised two beautiful children, educated through the Norwich public school systems, the most magnificent teachers I could ever ask for my children to have. I worked with many of them. I'm looking around the audience. I don't remember working with maybe Beth, but that's about all I can remember. I think one of them played football for me in high school, but I'm not sure. But they were magnificent teachers. And I learned a lot. Mrs. Sawicki complimented me, but it wasn't me. I didn't learn. I was taught that by the teachers I was able to work in the classroom with. But we need to understand that it's more than just the schools. A couple of years ago, a business was coming to Norwich. They were happy, toured the city, all right? Was excited about coming here. The proximity to 395, the proximity to 95, the proximity to 2 and 32. They were very excited about the distance between Boston and New York and Providence and Hartford. The first things out of their mouth, after walking and driving through the city with us, was, I always say this word wrong, so forgive me. There's no amenities. There's no movie theater. There's no restaurant. That's what they talked about. Not one of those executives that we talked to, and these were $70,000 jobs 10 years ago that this company was coming here. They didn't say, how's your school system? What they asked us was, where do my employees go to eat, shop, movie, dance? Where do they go? And Norwich had nothing. Not really. Really had nothing. That's why they didn't come here. They didn't come here because our schools are second rate, which listen, I sit up here, I go out, I defend the city all the time. You are not a bad school system. You're one of the best. I refuse to talk, Janet, I don't want to curse. I refuse to talk bad about the school systems because I won't admit that. They're great. Those teachers that are sitting here and those that aren't here, I know put in way more than 100%. I know that. But we didn't cut your budget. We didn't cut your budget. What we did is said, this is what we can afford. We're sorry. Do the best you can with it. Because how many people in the audience got a pay raise this year? How many got one last year? Or the year before? Okay? The economy sucks. Nobody's thriving in it. Nobody. So we have to make cuts. We have to sacrifice. And I know the schools seem like they're getting the brunt of it, but Mr. Solomon, how many other departments in the city got an increase this year?
Bill,
How many departments in the city got an increase this year?
What, like,
An increase?
All of them.
all of them.
All of them?
yeah.
All of them.
Was it 5%, 6%?
I have to defer to Josh on that. No. Some got increases of that, some got less.
All right, well, I guess we're in better shape than we were. I don't know where I'm going. I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Pro Tem, please.
And I'll keep this short, we'll get out of the way and we can just vote. Okay. First, I would just want to respond to one thing that Alderwoman Gould said, and she made a very good point. However, I would just also remind everyone that when we talk about economic development, this council, sorry, the prior council, Bill, sorry, but, a year ago, let's say, this council, actually, over the last 3 years, this council has given NCDC, last time I looked, they still had 2.2 million of the money that we gave them left for Vanilla Box and for code correction and for the other programs that are tagged into economic development. So we're not sacrificing one for the other. That's my only point to what you said. But on this one resolution and the amendments that we're talking about, I appreciate what Alderman Nash is trying to do. I appreciate what Alderman Singh is trying to do with adding in the ARPA money to it. I'm sorry, I cannot support a plan, no matter how well-intentioned, that creates a deficit in the school budget from day one. It's a designed failure. And I'll stop at that, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there further discussion? Alderman Singh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So I just want to kind of do a little recollection of all the conversations that happened here. When I was in Board of Ed, I was in one of the meeting, and literally Board of Ed members were threatened with legal consequences if they go beyond their allocated budget. So I don't really, I don't really feel comfortable, them coming back to us if there is not that much consensus on that issue, to give them money when they need it. Let's say they come back to us on that. So my only intention today is on Resolution 2 to add extra $500,000, which will not impact the taxes in the city. Taxes are not going up. I think it's a balanced approach. I have kept in mind basically the approach sponsors of this resolution have. And I don't have, I know where you all coming from, and there is a need, and we're trying to do economic development. It's a very, difficult situation we are in. But my thing is, I still want to try my best in Resolution 2 to get to the point that at least we can all say it was some kind of compromise. We are not fully funding schools with this resolution, even by adding extra $500,000. But, I just had a hope that maybe we can show a little working together today. But long story short, right now, just for the clarity, first amendment was passed to increase the budget from 471,704 to 500,000. Now we are on the second amendment that I put it forward, and thank you for seconding that amendment to it to add another $500,000. So there is $1 million in total for Board of Ed. And I guess let's see how everybody votes on it. And if it passes, I will vote on Resolution 2. Otherwise, I will not.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, a roll call on the amendment offered by Alderman Singh.
Alderman Nash,
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto,
No.
Alderman Singh,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould,
No.
Alderman Neuendorf,
No.
President Pro Tem DeLucia,
No?
Mayor Nystrom.
No. The amendment offered fails 2 for, and 5 against. New Business Resolution 2 as amended. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Nash,
What are we voting on? What are we voting on?
Voting on final vote on Resolution 2 as amended.
Which amendment?
your amendment.
Mine?
As
Yes.
amended.
Okay. Alderman Nash, yes.
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto,
No.
Alderman Singh,
No.
Alderwoman Gould,
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf,
Yes.
and President Pro Tem DeLucia,
Nope.
Mayor Nystrom.
Yes. New Business Resolution 2 as amended is adopted 4-3.
Okay. New Business Resolution 3, relative to an amendment of the 23-24 budget to increase funding for Norwich Public Schools and appropriate additional ARPA funds to defray a portion of the tax impact of the increase in funding for Norwich Public Schools. Resolved that the budget for fiscal year 23-24 as tentatively adopted by the Council of the City of Norwich on May 1st, 2023, as further amended by the Council of the City of Norwich on May 15th, 2023, be amended by the adjustments listed herein. General Fund, Norwich Public Schools, 2023-24, tentatively adopted, $88,973,852. 2023-24 revised, $91,730,325. Expenditure adjustment, $2,756,473. Change in general fund mill rate, 1.53. General fund, federal grants, 2023-24 tentatively adopted, 0. 2023-24 revised, $781,000. Revenue adjustment, $781,000. Change in general fund mill rate, negative 0.43.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to bring this to the floor. President Pro Tem, second Alderwoman Berto. Is there discussion? President Pro Tem.
Thank you. So a lot has brought us to this place. Let me make it perfectly clear what's going on with this resolution. The top line essentially is revising the allocation for the Board of Ed to the 91.73 million and change that came out of the most recent ad hoc meeting. At the first ad hoc meeting, we asked the business office at Norwich Public Schools to sharpen their pencils and refine their budget as much as they possibly could, and they did exactly what the committee asked. That was find cuts, and they did. $1.135 million in cuts they brought to the table. That is what brought us to the 91,730,000 and change. The $781,000 that's spoken about in terms of federal grants, that is the remaining amount of ARPA money as of our last report from the comptroller's office. I am proposing that that money be used for one of its approved purposes, which is tax relief. So yes, I'm asking the city to spend more on its education budget, but I am saying that the money that we have remaining in ARPA that we got from the federal government should go back towards offsetting some of that increase. So that is what's going on. I believe, and I've already said it once, but I'll sharpen my point a little more. I believe that is dishonest budget that starts the fiscal year without this, with the last amendment that was just approved, roughly a $2.5 million deficit on day one. On July 1, new fiscal year, the Board of Ed is already $2.5 million in the hole. That is not an honest budget. That's not being honest with ourselves. That's not being honest with the taxpayers, because that money is going to have to come from somewhere. Secondly, if you read in the paper, and if you watch the news, you'll know that all the surrounding districts around us are in the same boat. We heard it from the podium. Education has changed. The needs of the kids have changed, and serving those needs has become more expensive. Everyone around us is suffering a 4 to 6% increase in their education budget. And we are right there with these numbers. We are at, I think it's 5.68%, call it 5.7. So we're no different than all of the towns around us and the pain that they're feeling. And frankly, I am on board with holding the mill rate. Last year, the 7 of us who were sitting here dug our heels in and insisted from the city manager, from the Board of Ed, that we'd be at a 0 mill rate increase, and we did. And the Board of Ed coughed up $1.5 million to help us get there. But if I'm forced to choose between adequately funding our school system and a small mill rate increase, which the comptroller can verify, but as of this afternoon was a net change of 0.84 mils. Correct, Josh? Thank you. Okay. If I'm forced to choose, excuse me. I am forced to choose between adequately funding the school budget and a mill rate increase of less than 1 mil, I'm going to favor the school budget every time. The education of young people in this post-pandemic world is the priority for me, and that is the way that I have to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Alderwoman Berto.
First, I want to say I agree with what Alderman DeLucia, President Pro Temp, said. I would rather have a small mill rate increase and fully fund our schools. These are our children. You know, these are our futures. Tech CEOs, legislatives, business owners, you know, teachers. And like Alderman Nash said, you know, he was escorting employees, you know, from a company that were making $70,000. These kids, are those people that are making $70,000. We're starting them here. Businesses, you know, they look for education when they come here. We need to make sure that our children have the best possible education that we can give them. And I think fully funding the budget gives them that chance to have the best possible education. It gives them, it makes sure that they have adequate staffing, adequate transportation to school, adequate psychiatrists that are at school that need, you know, if the child needs that attention, they have that. And make sure that they have school lunches. Sometimes kids don't eat when they go home. Sometimes their family can't afford to feed them when they go home. This is sometimes the only meal these kids get. We have to stand behind our teachers and our educators that are educating our young people, our next generation, that will sit up here and discuss the school budget like we are. So I support fully funding the budget. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Again, is there further discussion on Resolution 3? None. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
No.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
No.
Alderman Neuendorf?
No.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
No. New Business Resolution 3 is defeated on a 4-3 vote.
Okay, old business resolutions. Number 1, relative to the adoption of budget for fiscal year 23-24.
At this time, I'd ask for a motion to bring this to the floor. Alderwoman Gould, is there a second? Alderwoman Berto? Is there discussion at this time? Yes.
I just,
Would you like time for the recalculation?
on this, I just recommend that there's a clause added in there, after May 15th, 2023, and that's further amended by the Council of the City of Norwich on June 12th, 2023.
Okay.
That same item should be in the 3 resolutions.
Thank you, Josh. Yep. Okay. Ask for a motion, please, to amend Old Business Resolution 1 to include the language recommended by our comptroller. Alderwoman Gould, second. Alderman Grant Neuendorf. Just for clarity's sake, could you repeat the language, please?
Sure. So after May 15th, 2023, and before the word "the," insert "and as further amended by the Council of the City of Norwich on June 12th, 2023.
Thank you. Everyone have the language? Okay, I'll take a roll call on that amendment on Old Business Resolution 1. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. That amendment on Old Business Resolution 1 is adopted. Is there further discussion on Old Business Resolution 1 as amended? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
No?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. Old Business Resolution 1 as amended is adopted 6-1.
Okay. Relative to the adoption of the appropriations ordinance for fiscal year 23-24.
This time I'd ask for a motion to bring this to the floor. Alderman Nash, second, please. Alderman Grant Neuendorf. Is there discussion? Do you need to share anything at this time? Adjustments?
Just to ask that same clause be added to that.
Same clause, okay. Again, a request for an amendment to read again as has been further amended on June 12th, 2023. A motion, please. Alderman Nash, second. Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
No?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. The amendment that was offered is adopted 6-1. Is there further discussion on Old Business Resolution 2 as amended? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
No?
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. Old Business Resolution 2 as amended is adopted 6-1.
Number 3, relative to the adoption of the tax levy ordinance for fiscal year 23-24.
Motion, please, to bring this to the floor. Alderwoman Gould, second. Alderman Nash. Is there discussion? Do you need time?
No, I can give you what needs to be inserted.
Okay. Thank you.
So the same language after May 15th, 2023. And is further amended by the Council of the City of Norwich on June 12th, 2023. And then in section 1, to replace 41 and 66 hundredths mils, that should be replaced with 41 and 85 hundredths mils. 41.85.
That will be suffice
Yes.
throughout the rest of the sections. Okay.
Yep, the remainder of the sections.
Thank you.
Are unchanged.
All right. Ask for amendment, please. A motion, excuse me, to offer an amendment. Previous language as further amended by the council such and such today's date, along with change in that mill rate 41.66 to 41.85. Is there such an amendment? Alderman Nash, second. Alderwoman Gould. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call on that amendment, please.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould, Alderwoman Berto.
What were we voting on again? The amendment, correct?
Just the amendment.
Okay, yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Yes. And Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. On the amendment passes on old business resolution 2, 7-0. Is there further discussion on old business resolution 3? Excuse me, I misspoke. It's resolution 3 as amended. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Thank you. Old business resolution 3 is adopted 7-0.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Alderwoman Gould. Is there a second? Alderman Nash, second. Roll call.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderman Singh?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Neuendorf?
Yes.
President Pro Tem DeLucia?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Motion to adjourn passes 7-0. Thank you all.